Hello. Hey. Hi. Nice crowd tonight. Welcome to the third installment of the 2018 MFA Showcase Reading Series. We've got writing and music tonight from the amazing Hillary Susz. Give it up. But first, Hillary's former student Taylor Lucio is going to read and then introduce Hillary for us. So give it up for Taylor.
Thank you, everyone. Just bear with me. I'm really sick and I lost my voice, so I apologize, but I'm going to read a modern version of the Canterbury Tales that I've written recently, and it's called the California Tales, so I hope you all enjoy. You really like to read the breaking news. The people know the story, so do you? A reporter was sitting on a plane. He flew to Cali to report again. He didn't know he was going to meet these 19 rappers who rhymed with the street. The reporter is me. I love to rhyme, but I have to tell stories all the time. My job prevents me from hobbies I do. The 19 rappers have my problem too. I met these 19 rappers on the plane. Our flight delayed 2 hours because of rain. In those 2 hours, I talked to everyone. I had no idea stories were fun. The first man was a writer just like me. He was 500 pounds and stood 6'3". He sat near the window, not in the middle. I was so squished, the guy wasn't little. He squeezed right past me to get to his seat. He scraped my knees and tripped on both my feet. He plopped himself down and then fell asleep. Good day, hello, not even a small peep. I turned around to start socializing, but this rapper was way more surprising. The chef was a guy who was loud and rude. I would say he was an obnoxious dude. I saw a guy whose name I'd have to learn. He was an ancient man whose face was very stern. This elder guy was a century old. Instead of silver hair, his hair was gold. He wrinkled like a raisin, skin so pale. He smelled like a hole full of ginger ale. The man in front of him was a salesman, a briefcase in his lap, skin that was tan. His hair covered with a classy white hat. Unlike other rappers, he was not fat. And next to him sat a youngster, a thug. His eyes and posture made him like a bug. This gangster boy overdid it on swag. His clothes were big. His hat still had a tag. In front of me sat a woman who had some thick glasses and a skirt that was plaid. She was a teacher of a school nearby. Her students were so bad, she had to fly. From Denver to California today. She couldn't put up with those kids through May. She sat next to a man with a good book. He gave it to her, and she took a look. He was a pastor going to Japan to do missionary work as one man. He was flying to Anaheim to go on another plane going to Tokyo. Behind me sat a ripped and scary guy. He was so rude and didn't tell me hi. His sweatbands on his wrist matched his nice shoes. His basketball shirt and shorts were too loose. He was an athlete and a mean one too. He called the teacher names and then kicked her shoe. This kid was bad to the bone and so tough. And after meeting him, we had had enough. The next person on the plane was gothic. She wore black and her makeup was too thick. She growled at the athlete and at the pastor. I wish I could run away much faster. Because the next person on that big plane was a snooty blonde girl who was named Jane. She was a princess who was always mean. Her dad was the king. Her mom was the queen. She ignored the athlete when he said hi. He then backed off and then tried not to cry. The last person to join the crowded row was a nerdy boy with a big afro. He had glasses and his pants covered his ribs. He had a pencil to do some Mad Libs. The other kids snickered when he sat down. He put his stuff away and then he frowned. Poor little guy, these people were vicious, and the next guy was acting very suspicious. I couldn't help but stare at this weird guy. I found out he was a CIA spy. He shifted his eyes as if reading books. He stared at me as if I were a crook. Next to this man sat another weird girl. Her skirt was so ugly that I almost hurled. Her shoes were out of style and full of paint. Her hair stuck straight out. Its color was faint. I could tell that she wasn't the smartest. Her easel told me that she was an artist. Across from her sat a man dressed in white. Unlike the artist, he seemed very bright. He was a doctor flying out of state. There was no clinic that he didn't hate. He talked to the man that was on his left, who claimed he just arrested kids for theft. He was an officer, and he was the best. He bragged each time there was a big arrest. The next guy who came in gave me some hope until I asked to fly, and he said, nope. He was the pilot of the plane that day. I asked if the rain stopped. He said, no way. He said we wouldn't fly for 2 more hours, or at least until there were no showers. I sighed and watched another man walk by. He sat down behind the officer guy. This chubby young man's skin was very tan. He was very friendly. His name was Dan. Dan was a foreigner, and every race displayed itself on his rounded fat face. His mother was Mexican and a Jew. His dad was white, black, and a native too. His great-grandma was 12% Chinese. His grandfather was 1/4 Japanese. He studied 12 languages every day. He celebrated every holiday. And next to him sat another rude man with blonde hair, white teeth, and pale skin, not tan. He was a billionaire. He was so rich. His dad played baseball. He knew how to pitch. He stared at his phone and remained quiet, unlike others who'd rather riot. There was one more man on that noisy plane. He was a carpenter who hated rain. The house he built here fell from the weather. He's moving to LA since it's better. These were the rappers I met on that plane. We sat and waited for that stupid rain. I didn't know how to stop all the fights. I thought we should pass time until our flight. Hey all, would any of you like to hear a story about when I hit a deer? They all perked up and stopped their bickering. The seatbelt lights continued flickering. Soon everyone wanted to hear my tale, just as the rain outside turned into hail. I suggested we each could rap a song. It has to be clean and it can't be too long. Everyone in there loved to rap and sing, about themselves and every other thing. I went first and prayed that I wouldn't fail, and then I told them, please enjoy my tale. Thank you. So now it is my pleasure to introduce one of my favorite writing teachers of all time, Miss Hillary Susz. Hillary Susz is a creative writer, music composer, and arts lover based out of Boulder, Colorado. Her music has been featured by Impose magazine, Wild Honey Pie, The Girls Are, and more. Her creative writing has been published by Wallpaper and Jeopardy magazine. As a ghostwriter, her writing has appeared in a variety of media outlets, including Forbes, Business Wire, MSN, and a lot more. She currently works as a freelance writer and creative writing instructor at the University of Colorado Boulder. You can find out more about her on her website, www.hillarysusz.com. So now, please welcome Miss Hillary Susz.
All right. Thanks, Taylor. So Taylor is a very impressive person. While she's in my class, you received a publication, right? And you won a scholarship. Yes. So, you know, a lot of people I think have good ideas, but it takes a lot of work to turn those good ideas into success. And very successful young person right here. So, thank you for introducing me. Thank you all for being here. I feel like I have friends. It's a birthday feeling, kind of. A good birthday, not like a sad birthday when you realize you have no friends. So I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to read a short story, a short essay, and a little bit from the book I'm working on, which is like really new. And I'm going to play 2 new songs. So I hope that you're entertained with this variety of things that I'm asking you to endure. So this story I wrote this winter. We all live in Boulder, right? Does anyone not live here? So you'll know about this. So there's a star like that's lit up there, and I've heard that young people go there to fuck, and then they take a bulb out of the star like as a relic of their winter fucking excursion. And I think that's one of the bizarre things that happens in life that you should probably write about. Yeah, okay. So, all right, this story is called Struck. After Nora and Suzanne make love, Suzanne falls asleep. Nora leaves for a walk in the night. Outside, the snow refracts light of the full moon, and there is a slight wind, but the cold is bearable. Nora prepared, wearing a puffy coat, wool hat, and boots, and at the first bend, where the cluster of houses ends, she looked up to a row of pines in a slope multiplying white. Suzanne wakes with ignition and realizes Nora is gone. She dresses and looks for her in the bathroom, the kitchen, the living room. She returns to her room where she swells with worry. In her fury, she puts on boots and a jacket and exits out the back door, where she finds footsteps in the snow, Nora's footsteps, and she follows them. After some paces, Suzanne shivers. In her hurry, she had forgotten to grab gloves and a scarf, and her hands and face freeze. She stops to breathe into her hands and rub them together. She pinches her face to no avail. Earlier that night, Nora said, "Let's try something new," as she picked at her callous, vision focused inward. Suzanne responded with a deep inhale, as if the moon had inhaled, like a wave whispers a system of meaning no person can access. When she released that air, wind swept around the house. Nora plugged in the Christmas lights over their bed. They both agreed to try something new. Now Suzanne is sweating. Perspiration comes hot out her pores and turns into cool film. No longer cold, she continues, pleasantly becoming more detached and tranquil. Occasionally, this is interrupted by the confusion of seeing Nora standing here or there, but when Suzanne approaches, she discovers that what she saw was just a rock or tree or something. The road is bathed in crystal moonlight. Suzanne stops when Nora's trail enters the tree line. She tests the firmness of the snow and finds it walkable, though as she continues, she finds in some parts she walks fine, and in others, she sinks to her knees with snow filling her boots. She imagines Nora struggling like she is, stumbling, falling, injuring herself. She imagines her growing tired, resting at the overpass, where she is, peering over the neighborhood, which is indistinct shapes and outlines and blackness. Suzanne tries to locate their home, but can't. She continues. It soon becomes clear where she is going. Where she will find Nora. A famous star shines brightly over the city from the western flank. It's lit annually to commemorate the holidays. Suzanne knows Nora will be there, surrounded by a star, and she is. Just before the lit structure, Suzanne spots Nora standing by a tree, looking up at the sky. Nora's neck, her chin, her cheeks shine as if touched by white madness. Suzanne walks up to her. They both laugh, acknowledging this irony, this destiny. Suzanne puts her arms around Nora and whispers in her ear, "What are you doing here?" Suzanne kisses the side of Nora's cool face. "Just look at the stars," says Nora. Suzanne obeys, moving behind, holding the back of her. The sky is full of stars, invigorated white suns, much more than could be seen from their neighborhood. "It's a pretty sky, Nora." "Do you realize where we are?" asks Nora, tired and serious. "On the mountain?" "Yes," Nora smiles. "But we're also in a place surrounded by past. All these stars," Nora talks with her hands, gesturing toward the sky. "Look at them. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Suzanne looks. There are many stars. Sensuous sheens erupted bright. She releases Nora and faces her. What is there to understand? "All this light," Nora stammers. "It's the past." Nora's thoughts escape to somewhere graceful and weightless. When these stars were alive, we didn't exist. Life on Earth didn't exist. Everything that only exists and guesses is right there now above us, and there's nothing we can do. Nora is trying to tell Suzanne something hard. Change is unprecedented. Undreamed chains of events. Destruction of delicate balances that take lifetimes to evolve. Suzanne breaks Nora's trance. "Why don't we go just a little further, to the center?" Nora agrees, takes Suzanne's hand, and they walk directly under the flourishing lit ornaments to the center of the structure. This center holds a magic that casts a spell on inhibition. But Nora seems mostly unmoved and far away, and Suzanne adopts her hesitancy, her doubt, and feels it evolve strangely. She suddenly questions whether their love will survive or not. At this moment, it seems completely dependent on this star and its power. Then a strong wind gushes, blowing out the speaker of the ear. The star thing is bare, unprotected from the elements. The cold, it's harsh and tastes like blood. It's time to go home and crawl beneath the covers. but neither of them move. Suzanne takes Nora's face, places her lips upon Nora's, and breathes blood into the roots. Nora's face is rigid and spine stiff, but Suzanne is not unkind, her hands warm and gentle. Nora is fire and ice, elemental, on the brink, and they both fall into the snow. Suzanne's body covers Nora's. Nora doesn't move or touch or form whole words, just the beat of blood and temples chanting. Their hands and fingers intertwine with each other in snow, cluck tongues with pity, murmur forming humming, bodies swelling in a chorus refracted. They are shapeshifters, growing longer and taller with new limbs forming. In wonder and breath that glides faster, faster, smoothly, more silent. Water flows downhill around them, wind blows around them. It's freezing, their toes are pointed, bodies blurred, no ground, no sky. Faces merging and eyes hardening, rounding, bigger. Think mute with horror, think consolation, think together, at last, they are struck. This next piece I call an essay. It's about running. I'm a runner. I used to live on, like up here on 9th Street, and I used to run in Chautauqua Park. And when you run there, the first part is straight up a mountain, and the second part is straight down a mountain. So this attempts to move like that, but yeah. It's called On Running, but it's mostly just about heartbreak and enduring the uphill to get to the downhill. I'll tell you what it's about. Okay, so On Running. Sorrow always runs uphill. It's true and it's difficult to bear, but even more difficult to keep. In Bose headphones, I'm reminded there is no pure sorrow. It's bonded to music, breath, light, bones, guts, gall, shit. I continue up, thump like the animal, every sound sounding new throughout the landscape. Just ahead is my relief, just beyond understanding. The mind can lap the body and keep on going. The second part is downhill. In the lobby of a hotel at the edge of a dusty desert town, I'm just missing you, just like I've missed you so many times in so many bizarre locations. She always comes back, says the clerk. It's like a ritual. In my mind, I skip the part where we meet in the lobby, either because I don't know what to do or I don't care for this. People simplified by pop culture and polite mannerisms, the dust, the decor, such an elaborate setup, all the ways we are made to wait. No, we are already upstairs. 10,000 hours of jazz chords, the voice of a mean doctor insisting I'm mental. Marlboros on the bedside table. There are sightings of you all over this map, like an Old West gunslinger whose traces are tall tales with whiffs of cigarello smoke. But in all versions of this journey, basic details remain the same. I'm running, always running, and nothing outruns this running. Not a cheetah, a racehorse, an Olympian marathoner, or deadly snakes. Hours climbing up a Copper Canyon mountain. Desperados in blistering heat. The deeper I go, the more the crypt slides shut around me. Walls tightening, shadows spreading. I check my Fitbit. She's still not here. The clerk shrugs. Well, maybe she is gone. The next part is going to hurt. It's a weightless pain, like hitting water. I've heard that falling at a high distance into water is like hitting concrete. I imagine the body reacting like a siren. I have to begin again. I have to begin again. I have to. But at high velocity, the water is still water, and it's you, the falling subject, who becomes fluid. Because the kinetic energy of all your different parts are greater than the binding energy connecting them, the body makes a splash when it hits, in the most horrible red. Now I'm almost home. I do not really climb to new heights, more like I'm eaten away to them. As I forget the designs of life, of death, everything I do is just fine. When love is over, what do I grieve? My spirit, a collective spirit, for all the love that casts a shadow beyond what it is. The excitement of this hunt maybe has something to do with fantastic low-throbbing headaches and leg twinges, that no invention can slow this carnage, that the world moves through me and not the other way around. Driven by psychic navigation, the world moves through me and not. The weirdest part is how unbreakable it seems sometimes, when I finally rest, as if there isn't eternity to blush into. It's funny, I just like turned in, it's like a really small part of my thesis that I just turned in. I'm really sick of looking at this document at this point. Like, I don't want to look at it anymore, or like, I want a break. Feels like an unhealthy relationship at this point. So I started writing this book about this girl, Cassie, who is a musician in the future, and she goes on a breakout tour and has like an evil manager that like makes her really famous really fast, and like makes her into kind of technology, basically. And part one that I've been working on is her breakout tour, is the diary of her breakout tour. I guess I'll read some parts of this. I might skip around. And then I'll play some songs. That'll be, you won't have to listen to like my monotone voice.
Love it.
There will be like some variations. Okay. All right. So this is start at the beginning. It's my first time on a national tour, and it's such a wandering thing. In the hover, images unpeel on each side, and I become increasingly tranquil and detached as we approach the venue. Everything is falling into place, opening for Wu. I grew up listening to Sandra Shelley Wu, and I admire her. I wonder what she's like up close, how she looks in sweatpants with her makeup off, how she handles small, inconsequential things. The story always pulls me toward these wonderful details, which I'll need to provide if I ever want to gain recognition. I know that getting noticed isn't so much about the music, it's more about the accessibility of it. Can people see me, and when they see me, is their overactive fantasy ignited? B is asleep next to me. I hardly understand how they can rest now. All the nights we've stayed up late making awesome arrangements to relocate to the pop star universe, all those nights have accumulated to now, and they're asleep. Tonight will be the brain of the city, powering everything. I feel that power in its massive energy, like a wind pulsing, an arterial throb, burning through the unimaginable darkness of a crowd's collective dream. Anything can happen in this darkness, in the music, in a huge mental accelerator. Here, natural law, if there ever was such a thing, is held in suspension. My heel taps staccato thinking about it, and my shoulders become conscious with the braid of blitz. Only a few months ago, B and I were performing to web crowds of 10 in basements, parks, and dives. The way things have gone from 0 to a million so quickly, I've changed completely as a person in a 3-month period. I quit my job, I went to FemRiot and landed this tour. Now we have the chance to become massive, and honestly, I'm terrified. We have the opportunity to launch everywhere at once, but what if nobody looks or responds? B always says, it doesn't matter, just stop giving a fuck. And I suppose they're right. I also know that my insecurity is unreasonable, the way I want everyone to love me. That, and also, low self-esteem can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The fear of failure ultimately leads to planning for it. The pressure to produce material is also so intense. Bands pump out as much material as possible to stay current, to move with audiences in their everydays. An EP for studying, songs to fuck to, fast songs about fucking, the cooking songs, is nauseating. The way music is always moving, like thinking. Sometimes it moves with me, sometimes not with me. The femme and the hover over, B beside me sleeping. The trouble is trying to track it. Bibliography and book history, the concealed nature of fact, all that stands in place of magnificent confessions, euphoria, that splitting sermon, horn-like, is impossible to think about. There's no object to it because our minds and worlds are the same thing. All sides sway toward an edge. The line begins with theme, but it shimmers beneath the ground. How much of this do I want to read? I'm going to skip some. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to read this anymore. Unhealthy relationship. You need a break. Okay, maybe I'll go to this party. So this whole work, this is just like a little part. My thesis is not like 5 pages. It's just but this whole thing is just like going to parties and like her having sex with a lot of people, and that's pretty much what it is. And she like falls in love with this evil producer, and she's evil. So that's it. I mean, I just told you what it is, you know. Okay, I'll read this last little part at this party, and then I'll play some songs. Okay. After the show, we were summoned to a lavish party in an aggressively modern mansion with a high mass and violently sloping roof. It was like a discus emerging obliquely from the earth. In rare solitary moments, I sat back and watched. Panels on the ceiling reflecting light bouncing off the swimming pool. Being there made me feel like cities could float in the sea or houses could vault to the sky. I saw fantastic forms, and the music, young people dressed stylishly, entering each other's laughter. There was a femme playing the steel drum. She was focused and lost and beautiful. When she lifted the mallet, she had so much potential, and when she lowered it, moving toward the drum with speed, she had energy. At the moment of contact, the steel soaked the energy and it vibrated. In the steel, air pushed, vibrating molecules, each one cascading, vibrating more molecules. Soon, every molecule in the room was vibrating. Some of them next to my ear, others in my ear canal, vibrating tiny hairs that stimulate nerve cells and send a message that her music was becoming mine. Everything in that room was me and mine, and it all was moving outward and outward. Thanks. It's just gonna take me a second to like turn this on. Also, will someone fill this up for me? Of course. So this is sort of unusual, but I thought I had a stage and I do this too. And when you have a stage and you do this too,
Yes.
that's what you do. That's what you do. Yeah.
I'll fix it first.
What? Will you click that on too? So I'm hoping this isn't feedback. This room is like actually like a horrible environment for sound, especially like where the stage is. It should be like not in a corner. Just saying.
Sorry.
So if there's like this big wallowing sound, it's just a part of the experience. Will you turn the volume down like just a tiny bit? Just the volume. The one that says volume, yeah. Nope, turn it up just a little bit. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine, right? Or is it too quiet? Okay. That shouldn't feedback at all. So both these songs are brand new. I'm like a baby in a baby carriage. You're all the mothers. I had a grief dream that I shot the president. Took a room in a motel and turned on the TV. And my face grew pale in that lonely screen, not ready to admit I'd gone too far again. Then I walked shades like a junkie cavalier. Drank whiskey soda with average monsters. And I wasn't careful, wasn't kind. Nobody, no mind. Just the logic of dub music in the night. All I needed was a memory of one bed to nights I never slept, waiting for the moon to set, thinking of you. There was a siren light in a limousine in America at a funeral starting to end. When I got to your apartment, those headlines were in your eyes as you said, "Go now, go now." Dying mouth. To steal the weight of the world and to land in the arms of sleep. Oh, a smile on the cusp of things. I've gone so far, I've come so far, I've gone so far, I've come so far. Without you, without you, without you. Another brand new song, and then we can all chat. Turn that up.
Yeah.
Okay, will you turn it up just a little bit? Little tiny increments. Little tiny increments. Go back. Start from 0. Okay. Keep going. Little tiny. Good. Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
Little circles, Julie. Little circles. All right.
Your eyes parachute down my style as I gamble away a dizzy smile. Stars Professional crying between tongues. Healing in that great secret. Found everything I couldn't bear in you. Loved you all at once. Surges through me, swooning I know is gone, and cannot an ugly thing be the same as a fine thing? If both are apprehension. Suffering, you get destroyed back into the structure of yourself. Only we could be animals, born with the blink of an eye, always moving forward. Time, love isn't long enough. We're both dead now, having had enough. And there's something evil in me that loves honestly. This dream again. Talk now if you want, but I'm gonna get off the stage first, unless you want to like trade the microphone back and forth. That could be kind of fun.
Interview all of writers.
Okay, well, thanks again for coming. I'm very happy. I'm happy that I know a lot of people in here. I know people. People are in my life, and you're important to me. And thank you. Okay. Good night.
Another round of applause for Hillary. And for Taylor. For their wonderful opening. Thank you.